So let me give you a few thoughts about our role as stewards of creation. In the information provided along with this video, we should have a list of what we call God's original commission and the 6 key instructions that God gives to man. And we've broken those down into their Hebrew terms and given a bigger definition of them. That is the idea of to rule and subdue the earth, to be fruitful and to multiply, and to work and care for the garden. When you look at that list and you look at the expounded definitions of that list, what you get is this bigger picture of what it means for us to live and interact with God's creation. It's pretty clear from my understanding and from the original commission that so much of what we were handed is this idea of responsibility of God's creation. God created this big, beautiful world, and then He created us. And then He said, I want you to take care of it. I want you to steward it. I want you to manage it. I want you to guide and shape this thing as everything that He created continues to grow and expand. I want you to continue to shape it and help move it forward. You are participating in the ongoing, unfolding creation. It's a beautiful thing to be a part of. In fact, if you go back to the story of creation, what you'll find really, really interesting is this idea that almost anything and everything that you have a passion for, anything that you love to do, the essence of that thing can be found in the story of creation. So let's think about this for a minute. What are some things that you really love to do? And we're not talking about any sort of vices here, anything that's unhealthy or unnatural. We're talking about the things that are good, that are pure, that are noble, that are right. The things that are within you that you have this desire, this passion for. Any sort of hobby. What is it you like to do? Do you like to paint? Well, think about this. The idea of aesthetics goes all the way back to Genesis in the story of creation when God says, He says, this tree is good for fruit, but it's also pleasing to the eye. Wait a second, God is into aesthetics? How things look matter? So what does a painter do? A painter takes the paint that they did not create. They don't make the paint, but they take that paint and they put it into a particular order onto a canvas. So what they're doing is that they're taking this creation and they're bringing it into some sort of shape and order. You see, this is God's intended reality. This is anytime you have somebody bringing order within creation that is continuing to unfold, then you are stepping into God's intended reality. You are participating in shalom. You are participating in the ongoing unfolding of creation. What do you like to do? Do you like to play music? Do you like to take a guitar or piano and write a song or sing a song? Well, what are you doing? You didn't develop the instrument itself. You didn't put the piano together, the guitar together. But you are taking this sound, you didn't develop sound, and you are plucking a string or hitting a key that's creating a vibration, that's creating a sound for us to hear, and then you are putting those notes into a particular order that allows us to experience this sound in a whole new way. Do you like to build things? Well, what are you doing? You didn't create the trees or create the wood, but you've taken these things and you've put them into a particular shape or a particular structure to create something new. Do you see how this all works? Anytime you are participating within creation to bring some sort of shape or guide to it, then you are participating in God's intended reality. Do you love to work in your yard or in your garden? Well, what are you doing? You're bringing order. You're planting this tree, you're mowing this grass. You know, the grass continues to grow because that's the way God created it. And then you bring order to it by mowing it, by shaping it. You take your yard, you plant some trees, some bushes, some hedges, whatever it is. You're bringing order within creation. That creation's continued to grow, and then you will have to trim those hedges, move those bushes, whatever it is. All this stuff is a part of God's original commission, the thing that's found in the very beginning in the story of Genesis 1 and 2. I mean, even things like, for example, like organizational skills, writing a budget. Yeah, even writing a budget is a creative thing. What are you doing when you create a budget besides boring me to death? What are you doing? You're bringing order. You're taking this finances that you have and you're bringing some sort of order to it to create something new. Hopefully something that's sustainable. Hopefully something that's beneficial to you and your family. I don't know why I'm getting so dried out. Do you like to organize things? Are you a good packer? This is all a part of bringing order and guiding and shaping the ongoing unfolding creation of the world. If you're great at putting your pantry in the proper order so that everything is just so, if you're great at organizing your sock drawer, if you're great, all these things speak to God's intended reality. All these things can be found in the heart and soul of the story of creation. So almost everything that you have a passion for, have a desire for, have a hobby in that has to do with so almost everything that you have a passion or a hobby, so almost everything that you have a passion or a heart for, one of your hobbies, one of your just things that you love to do, the essence of almost everything that we do can be found in the heart of the story of creation in Genesis chapter 1 and 2, in the story of God's intended reality, in the story of Shalom, in this big, beautiful picture where God created the world. Remember the order, the hierarchy? God created the world. You have God who created the world, who then gave man authority to rule and subdue the earth. It's not about taking and exploiting God's natural resources that He's given us, exploiting creation. It's about managing it. It's about guiding it. It's about stewarding it in a healthy sort of way so that it can be beneficial to us, so that it can be beneficial to the rest of creation, so it can be beneficial to future generations. You see, so anytime that we are taking advantage of the things that God has put us in charge of, we are doing a disservice to the role and responsibility He has given us. For many people, there's this idea, there's this thought that we are rulers and we are the rulers of creation. We must subdue creation. And it's this very aggressive, hyper-masculine idea that we are in charge and thus saith us, and then we can kill and rape and pillage the... I can't say rape, can I? Should I not say rape? Maybe we'll cut it off before I got into all that. Relationship with God. You see, and when you begin to understand this role of stewardship, and when you begin to understand God's intended reality, what it leads you to the place of is a whole different understanding of what our faith looks like, what it means to have faith, what it means to live that faith out. When I begin to understand that the essence of everything I do has a connection to the story of creation, then all of a sudden, my faith is not just something I do on the weekday, or on a weekend, on a Sunday, on an hour block, or a half-hour block, whatever it is. My faith is connected to absolutely everything I do. How I eat, what I buy, where I shop, how I talk to people, how I treat others, how I respond to difficulties. It's all connected. We cannot step outside. When we begin to understand this idea of stewardship of creation, when we begin to understand God's intended reality and our role in it, the original commission, the thing that He's called us to, when we understand that there was this God who created all things, and then He created man, and He gave man responsibility to guide and steward and shape all things, that is creation, then all of a sudden, everything we do is a part of how we live out our faith. When we understand that these passions and hobbies that we have, that the essence of what we love to do is connected to the story of creation, then all of a sudden my role here isn't just about getting as much as I can, taking advantage of the natural resources for the sake of the now. It's about us learning to live in harmony and relationship with God, with His creation, in a way that suggests that we actually care about the role that He gave us. You see, when you begin to understand your faith in these terms, then faith isn't just a head knowledge. It's not just something we believe. It's not just something we show up to once a week when we go to church or we watch something online. All of a sudden, my faith is connected to everything I do. The way that I live should carry the idea and the aspect of everything I do is connected to living out God's command for my life, which has to do with His intended reality, which ultimately has to do with me experiencing life to the fullest. As I step into my humanity more fully, and as I step into my humanity more fully, then I step more and more into the image and likeness of God. So if I want to become more and more like God, which I think is our goal because we are created in His image, then what it looks like for me in the here and now is to live in a particular sort of way that I understand the way that God has created me to live and the world that He has created me to live in and the responsibility that He has handed me to deal with it. Do you see? So now it's not just, oh, I believe this and then I go to church. It's, no. Everything you do and everywhere you go is an opportunity for you to carry out your faith, is an opportunity for you to step into who God created you to be. From the things you buy, from the things you eat, from how you treat your body, what you put into it, what you take out of it, the things that we order from halfway around the world, some sort of product, how we're treating individuals in other parts of the world through our dollars that we spend. You see, it's all overlapping and interconnected. We cannot separate them. We cannot separate them. We cannot choose to ignore and reject certain things. And when you think of this idea of God's intended reality and these four essential components, our connection to God, our connection to self, our connection to the others, our connection to the world, it means that we have this even greater responsibility to live a more Christ-like life. As we live a more Christ-like life, we become more like God. As we become more like God, we begin to step into the fullness of how we were to experience this life in the first place. It's all overlapping. It's all interconnected. How I shop, how I buy, how I think. I don't know where I'm going with this. When we begin to understand God's intended reality and how from the very beginning we see these four components of the proper relationship to God, the proper understanding of self, the proper connection to others, and the proper understanding of our stewardship and our role in creation, all of a sudden when it comes to things like faith is no longer just something we do on a Sunday. It's no longer something that we just have an idea about or just a head knowledge sort of thing. When you understand the circle that we've been talking about, God's intended reality, then all of a sudden my faith is tied to everything I do, to everywhere I go, to how I think, to how I act, to how I buy things, to how I eat, to the things I choose to put in my body, to how I treat others, to how I buy things affects how others are treated. You see, it's all overlapping. It's all interconnected. But what you will discover is that all of a sudden your faith is now a much deeper, richer sort of thing that can be carried out in all aspects of your life, which can ultimately, at least to me, lead to a more full, deep way to live in this moment, in this place, in the here and now.